I've been inside all three at the same time, and I had a unique vantage point. I had something to say that I felt was important for America and America's own strategic interest. Well, a year later, life gave me a platform. It gave me a stage to say it. I couldn't do it as a Marine, so I resigned my commission, which wasn't easy because I've been a Marine since I was 17 years old. My entire adult life, I've been an active duty Marine. I've been enlisted for 9 years. I earned a degree while I was enlisted, became an officer for 5 years. It was difficult to shed the identity of being a Marine. It was difficult to know that what I was going to go out and do in the press would be criticized by the people whose respect and admiration and acceptance I needed so much. And those were my superiors at the Pentagon. And I didn't realize how much I needed their respect and admiration, but that's the truth of it. It was going to be personally difficult. Not to mention that I had a family, wife, children, a mortgage, no health care, no jobs lined up, no resume, and the only thing I had to was post was savings was my second mortgage on the house. But I had something to do. I had something to say. So I went out and I gave an interview to Terry Gross, and then I went on all the media from Ted Koppel to every show that Fox has. I figured Fox, you know, NPR was easy to go on, and I enjoyed it, but Fox is where I needed to be. These are the people that I needed to reach. Who else to go on Bill O'Reilly's show and not be dismissed as a lefty from Berkeley when you're talking about Al Jazeera? Not, you know, when you try to dismiss me, you say, wait a second, my parents live in Lone Star, Texas. Dad's a volunteer firefighter, even though he's 67, he's a volunteer firefighter because he believes in civic service. Mom's on city council because she believes in civic service. My sister is a teacher. She teaches geography in Longview, Texas, because she believes in giving back to her community. And I've been a Marine my entire adult life, and I just gave it all up. So I can say, you've got to reconsider Al Jazeera. And by you, I meant him, Bill O'Reilly specifically. You've got to reconsider Al Jazeera because you're shaping people's opinions about it with misinformation. He even said on the show that they show snuff films. That is not true. They've never shown that. And I could lay out the facts for him. And did fairly well, and he was fairly reasonable about it. After doing that for a while, I was at the point where I needed a job. I was about to take a PR job in Houston. And the guy called me up. He said, I'm with the BBC. I've been with them for 26 years, but I'm going to leave and start an English Al Jazeera network. I've just seen your movie. I think you're interesting. Why don't you come to Washington and let's talk? So I did. We shot a couple of test shows. They liked them. A few months later, I was hired on as the 7th employee in the world to be hired by Al Jazeera. And then they announced it to the world, which is kind of funny because my employee number was, well, I worked for all Brits. You would think that I have this struggle between the Arab world and the Western world and the way they perceive the world. But the truth is, my editorial struggle was between all the British folks that I worked for. All our managing directors at the time were Brits. We changed that since. But, so I'm struggling with the Brits. They give me my employee number and send a press release out to the world that I'm now based out here in America. And my employee number was 007. As the 7th employee hired. But as soon as America knows that I'm working for Al Jazeera, as Heidi said, you know, the death threats start coming in. The stuff starts going up on websites that says, you know, surely he knows classified information, and now he's with the enemy, a special ops team should take him out. He's giving aid and comfort to the enemy, and accidents should befall him. These kind of things, calling me a traitor, that I was treasonous. It's kind of a shock to the system for someone who, you know, grew up their entire adult life being a Marine officer and treated one way, and then all of a sudden now you're a traitor. But the funny thing is, what Americans don't realize is, it was just as controversial on the other side of the pond. I mean, I've been told by a number of people over there that they saw it, and these are Arabs, saw it as illegal, that the government forced one of its own onto Al Jazeera, that Al Jazeera had to hire a U.S. government employee, that I was a spy or a mole on behalf of the U.S. government. So the fact that my employee number was 007, and both sides think I'm some kind of agent against the other, it just had, you know, it was again life, reminding me that it was playing with me. So the Western media dubbed me the face of Al Jazeera. I was on a couple of magazines and newspaper fronts, that type of thing. And it's been an interesting ride. Now, I'm not with Al Jazeera Arabic, I'm with Al Jazeera English. What Al Jazeera English is, it just launched in November, so we've only been on air a little over 6 months. Unless you live in Toledo, Ohio, Burlington, Vermont, or the Pentagon, you probably can't see it in America. Other than the fact it's online, you can watch it stream online. Now, that's not true around the rest of the world. It's one of the largest launches ever of the network. They spent over $1 billion, I believe, before they turned on the switch. It's a massive operation. They started with 80 million homes, and now they have over 100 million homes. In Israel, they've recently taken BBC World off the yes satellite system and put Al Jazeera English on its place. They've done the same in South Africa. The Belgian foreign minister said he's addicted to Al Jazeera English and can't stop watching. It is a phenomenon overseas, how fast it's growing. Since we've launched Toledo to put us on in America, we're quite proud of that. It's the first English-speaking international news to come from outside of the West, looking back in. But the guys who started it, they were pretty smart. They didn't stop there. They wanted this global perspective. But if you really think about it, what does a global perspective mean? Who has a global perspective? Is it, the Americans? Probably not. We have a very Western perspective, very American perspective. Is the Arabs? No, they have a very Arab perspective. The Brits think they have a global perspective. That's not true either. The truth is, it's a pithy phrase that doesn't mean much. So what they did was, rather than having one broadcast center like most major networks in the world do, they did something that's never been done before. This is why it costs so much money. They built 4 broadcast centers, complete full broadcast centers. One in Washington, which is right around the corner here. One in London, Doha, and Kuala Lumpur. Now these aren't bureaus. A bureau, when we have 36 plus bureaus, has 6 to 10 people in it. A broadcast center has 150 to 450 people in it. The news comes live for a certain portion of the day out of each broadcast center. And during the best times of the day, it actually comes live from maybe 3 broadcast centers at once. So our news hour will start in Doha, and they have a very Middle Eastern perspective on the news that they're reporting, and then they will toss to America, when we represent both North and South America, and we have very America's perspective on what we're reporting, on stories that are important here. We throw to London and then back to Doha. In the middle of the night, Kuala Lumpur replaces the Doha or the Washington bureau. So if you watch this thing, and then several times a day the news comes only from Washington. As a matter of fact, it's in the evenings. Right now, probably 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, those are Washington's times. So if you watch this thing for a 24-hour rotation, you're going to get a really different view on the way the world looks, depending on who's reporting it to you. Al Jazeera's gone way out of its way to hire the best local reporters. So it's not the BBC notion of hiring a white guy to go to Africa and tell you what's reporting about Africa. They've hired a lot of Africans to report on Africa. Our reporter in Gaza is Palestinian. I report on the U.S. military. Of course, that's where my experience is. Our reporters in Asia are Asian. So our reporters and our anchors as well, they look like the world they're reporting on, and they speak with an accent like the world they're reporting on. And you'd be surprised what a difference that makes when you really watch it. So, with that said, I think this will be a lot more fun with questions and answers than with me just speaking to you. So let's open this up for a Q&A. Do that for a little bit, and then if anybody wants to look, I'll sign one for you. I'd be happy to sign one for you in the back. Great. You want to give a microphone to the guys? Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
So what is preventing...
Wait for the microphone so everyone can hear you.
What is the reason that they are not on a TV channel in the United States?
The U.S., sure. Does this mic work? No? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Do I even need the mic? Better with the mic. Okay. The reason it's not in the U.S., it's been reported by the Western media a lot in America that it's not in the U.S. because it's so controversial. You know, you'd never find a home in the U.S. as controversial as it is. The truth is, Al Jazeera Arabic, which is really the original controversy, has been broadcast in the U.S. for, I think, 8 years. It's on the Dish satellite system. You can get it as part of an ethnic news package that they have. So that's not the truth. I actually sat in on the distribution meetings with Comcast, Cablevision, the Dish, I forget which ones, but I was lucky enough to be firsthand in these meetings. I went to these meetings with what I thought initially was the purpose of explaining this is not terrorist TV. Let me tell you what this really is. My background's in Marine. Here's how I came to know it. We had a video of what they show. The truth is they didn't want to hear it. They cut that short. Here's the reason that you don't get Al Jazeera English. It's the exact same reason you don't get BBC World. BBC World is knocking on all the same doors that Al Jazeera English is. The distributors believe you don't care about international news.